Many of us use them every day without a second thought. Without them, we'd have a lot of trouble getting around. Of course, we're talking about bridges. They come in all shapes and sizes and are built to make it easier for us to walk, ride, and drive from point A to point B. However, standards for bridge building and maintenance vary across the globe, and this has led to the existence of some rather dangerous and terrifying structures. From rope bridges straight out of Hollywood to road bridges that seem to be leading us to a certain demise, we've collected 10 of the most dangerous bridges we bet most people would be afraid to cross. Of course, before we start, you know the drill. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a like and comment at the end. Who knows, your comment may end up getting featured in our viewer shoutout. Hooray! Vitim River Bridge. Well, what do we have here? Slightly dipping, not 100% straight, and covered in rotting timbers. Wow, this bridge looks like the kind of thing only the bravest would cross. Located deep in Siberia, the Vitim River Bridge does away with all those pesky safety standards like railings and non-slip surfaces. No, instead, what you get here is good old Soviet-era engineering. Located northeast of Lake Baikal, this bridge was once used for trains. Now there's a newer bridge used for the trains, and the old rickety bridge is used by foot and vehicle traffic. While the bridge clearly looks dangerous, just how bad is it to use? Well, we're glad you asked. The Vitim Bridge is nearly 1,900 feet long and sits around 50 feet above the river. Oh, and the most important thing is that the bridge is barely wide enough for a car. So as you can imagine, that makes it quite the nerve-wracking experience to cross. Throw in a lack of any type of guardrail and the fact that the rotting wood beams get slippery from water and ice, and you have one terrifying crossing. Kiswa Chaka. Hey, remember that bridge from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? You know, the one at the end of the movie that's made out of rope and no one in their right mind would ever try to cross? Well, we found a real-life version of that bridge in Peru. The Kiswa Chaka Bridge stands out because it's the last true Inca-style rope bridge left in the area. Looking like something from a Hollywood film, this bridge is very real and the locals use it on a daily basis. If you think this isn't a big deal, keep in mind that the Kiswa Chaka Bridge isn't built out of modern rope. This thing is made from grass and dried plants. As it's all natural, locals need to rebuild the bridge every year, which means workers climb out onto a rather unstable platform to string up the various parts. On the one hand, the locals who do this appear to know what they're doing thanks to methods handed down generation after generation. That said, one slip and it is a very long fall into the Apurimac River below. Confederation Bridge. Other than polar bears and crazy hockey fans, we don't think there's too much dangerous about Canada. Then again, there's always the Confederation Bridge. We're sure it's built to code and constructed with the best concrete and steel available, but still, look at it. The Confederation Bridge links the Canadian mainland with Prince Edward Island, home of Anne of Green Gables. This 8-mile-long structure is the longest bridge over ice-covered waters in the world. It's also high enough above the sea level to allow a cruise ship to pass underneath. Okay, so if heights and ice-cold water don't put you off crossing, maybe you should also know that being exposed out in the open like this can make it tricky to cross in high winds. Yes, it's not unheard of for certain types of vehicles to be banned from crossing this thing because the wind can get that dangerous. No word if any vehicles have been tossed over the edge yet, but we'll keep our eyes peeled. Even if you are brave enough to cross, be prepared for your wallet to take a hit because the fee to use the bridge is a rather steep $47. Trift Bridge. The Swiss are known for their ability to make great chocolate and high-quality watches. Well, let's add bridges to that list. High up in the Alps of south-central Switzerland, you'll find Trift Sea, a lake created after 2002 when a nearby glacier started melting. Taking in the scenery, you may happen to look up. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a pedestrian bridge, built way up above. Suspended 330 feet up and spanning over 550 feet, the Trift Bridge is both fascinating and terrifying. In fact, to even get there requires a cable car ride and upwards of a 2-hour hike. If that doesn't do you in, then maybe the extreme height will. Once there, you're confronted with a long, slender suspension bridge that looks, quite frankly, rather fragile. High above the rocks and very shallow glacial waters, we imagine if anything went wrong, or you didn't obey the rules, you would be in for quite the fall. Well, before we cross the next bridge, let's stop to give a shout out to one of you, our beautiful viewers. Today, it's Game and Magic, who writes, "Love your videos, but don't know if you will ever see this. Well, guess what? We saw it, and we just wanted to say a big thank you for being such a loyal viewer, Game and Magic. The Atlantic Road. Remember the Confederation Bridge in Canada? If that didn't terrify you, then come with us as we travel to Norway. Here we'll find a stretch of rocky and uneven coast where the Norwegians decided a road should be built. The result is the Atlantic Road, a twisting and undulating highway which we think is more like a roller coaster ride than a safe place to drive your car. What puts this segment of road on our list is the fact that large stretches are made up of bridge works. Visually, this thing can just be intimidating because certain angles give the appearance that you're about to drive off into the abyss. Next, add in the fact that designers have included all sorts of curves and twists to their bridges. Because we guess driving in a straight and orderly fashion is simply boring. Finally, the fact that it's on the coast means you are exposed to high winds and pounding waves which wash up over the sides. While it can make for some spectacular images, we're not so sure we'd want to be on it in anything but the calmest weather. Puente de Ojuela. We imagine when travelers see this next bridge, they pause and question their life choices. Sure, from a distance, the Ojuela Bridge in Mexico doesn't look bad at all. Then you get up close and personal and are left wondering about the last time this thing passed a safety inspection. At 900 feet long, 6 feet wide, and over 300 feet in height, this thing is impressive. Constructed of wood and steel cables in 1898, the Ojuela Bridge was once used by local miners to move ore across the canyon. With that history lesson done, go ahead and walk across it. As you make your way across, we bet more than a few tourists are left sweating buckets because the bridge creaks and groans beneath you. That's reassuring. Those with an attention to detail will note the lines of this structure aren't straight and much of the wood is warped and tired looking. Throw in a bunch of rusty bolts holding everything together and we have a winner. We'll wait here for you. Just let us know when you make it to safety across. Quepos Bridge. This bridge was unofficially known as the Oh My God Bridge, and we think you can see why. Located in Costa Rica, the Quepos Bridge was, at one time, an important part of the country's Pacific Highway. Looking like it could crumble at any moment, we're amazed that for years this thing was traveled over daily by everything from cars to heavy transports. Upon closer inspection, it just gives us the chills. After all, it looks like something you and your friends would build out of scrap wood and metal when you were bored as little kids. Well, let's see. It has loose wooden plants, randomly placed metal bars, and absolutely no type of guardrail. In fact, if we didn't know any better, it looks like local officials just built this thing out of any wood or metal they had just lying around. Tourists who were brave enough to cross proudly posted videos of their adventure online. Fortunately, a new bridge was built to replace this one. We think that was a good idea because, as you can see, the original Quepos Bridge collapsed not long afterwards. Kakum Canopy Walk. Tourists who travel to the African country of Ghana often drop by the Kakum National Park to take in spectacular views of the tropical rainforest. Like many popular tourist destinations, this park had a system of suspension bridges to allow you to walk among the canopy, taking in all the beauty and creatures you'd normally miss out on from the ground level. Of course, heavy use in the humid environment took its toll on the bridge. Things got so bad that one person who visited the park a few years ago described it as being in a pretty unsafe state. Rotten boards, torn safety nets, and broken metal parts were all reported on, but downplayed by the people in charge. Then, lo and behold, someone in a position of authority decided last year that the canopy bridge was too dangerous to walk on, so they shut it down. In this instance, we think if you're someone who was able to walk on this thing in the last few years, count yourself lucky in more ways than one. Hongyagu Bridge. If you've been following China at all lately, then you know that country has a serious love of building glass-bottomed bridges. Now, these aren't just regular bridges. Oh no, the Chinese have a real knack for building bridges in rather spine-tingling locations. Whether high up on the edge of a mountain or spanning a massive canyon, we bet the views are incredible. Take the Hongyagu Bridge as a perfect example. Located in China's Hebei province, the Hongyagu Bridge is the world's longest glass-bottomed bridge spanning 1,600 feet and suspended 715 feet above the rocky ledges below. Tourists often find themselves weak in the knees or collapsing onto all fours in order to deal with the terrifying views. Or perhaps it's because they just happen to realize that China doesn't have the best reputation for sticking to code when building such projects. We wonder if they'd let us wear a parachute while we walked across. Hussaini. Looking at this thing, all we can say is nope, nope, nope. This bridge isn't a work of Photoshop, and it isn't some sort of abandoned bridge used by people in the 1800s. No, it's very real, and people use this thing daily. The Hussaini hanging bridge is one of the oldest bridges in Pakistan, and we have absolutely no trouble believing that. Suspended over water, this bridge connects two major villages in the area. Seriously, this thing makes that bridge in Indiana Jones look like the safest structure in the entire world. Locals from the area cross the bridge multiple times a day on their way to school and work. Spanning over 600 feet across the Hunza River, we can't imagine people putting their faith in the fragile boards and unstable rusted wire construction. Tetanus and splinters, anyone? We guess the one saving grace out of all of this is that if you fall, the river is only a few feet below. Let's just hope you can swim. Well, have you ever seen any of these bridges in person, or think you'd be brave enough to cross them? Tell us all about it in the comments, and be sure to subscribe and leave a like before you head off today. Thanks for watching, and hey, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.